Welcome to the recap of the match between Ninjas in Pyjamas and Virtus Pro on overpass of the ESL Pro League Season 4. NiP had to face VP, who started on the counter-terrorist side with Disco Dopplan standing in for Pith. Right off the start, the Poles made clear they wanted control and started the game with aggression on both long and short A. Pasha and Taz made short work of the attackers, combining for a full house of frags. NiP just wasn't able to trade effectively. The following force buy of the Swedes was way too telegraphed, and VP was prepared for the A push and were able to hold the ground though the attackers got close. This also secured them an easy win in the ensuing full eco of NiP. The Bolts got caught a bit by surprise by the fast B aggression in the first buy round of the attacking team. What followed were an open exchange of frags that left Neo in a 1 vs 2 with the bomb planted, which he successfully pulled off, outsmarting Exist with a defuse covered by a well-timed flashbang. Losing a round that was en route to be theirs, the Swedes decided to buy up again, lacking a decent amount of utility. VP yet another time took the initiative and opted for a close B short and connector hold. This approach was greatly awarded by securing the first 2 frags. NiP had no flashes to gain positional control. The only light for the Swedish side was some good economic damage done by Disco Dopplan. Being down 5-0, the loss bonus for the attackers had built up to allow for yet again another buy. NiP chose to take fast short A control, ensuing in a succession of weird exchanges that ended in a 3 vs 3. Instead of reconsidering their options, the Swedes chose to keep the tempo up. However, the defenders prevailed and were able to secure the round-winning frags. The Poles on the other hand started to feel the pressure of NiP, with their bank being empty after a buy for round 7. Their opponents were not in a much better place and decided on a semi-buy. This strategy paid off greatly, as the Swedes decided on another short push and caught the passive setup of the defenders a bit off guard. Winning this round meant a full reset for the Polish side, which was a welcome breathing room, and the subsequent eco round was easily converted by the attackers. At the score of 6-2, being 4 rounds ahead, Virtus Pro decided on a not quite perfect buy. The Polish short B push was somewhat circumvented by NiP's simple walk out on B long. Even though the defending side had 3 players present, the Swedes hit some nice openings and were able to put up another round, increasing the score to 4 as the following anti-eco was reasonably well converted. The next round was given up a bit too easy by the Swedish side, as Getright died making a solo play B. As the rest of his team switched to A, they were caught by surprise by some well-timed peeks of the defending players, making it an easy round for VP. The Bolts themselves though would go on to giving away a round by being too confident. Snacks took too much of a risk on short, staying too long and subsequently pulling his team into a disastrous round. NiP took advantage of the mistakes made by their opposition, securing a 1 for 2 round as the following eco by VP was again no challenge for them. Not wanting to give up more rounds, the defenders mustered a decent buy and chose to play aggressive on A long. Unfortunately for them, NiP made the right decision and were able to overwhelm the short hold, resulting in frags going back and forth with the Swedish side coming out on top. The last round of the half was a dire situation for VP. Being reduced to pistols and armor, NiP nearly got caught unaware by the tightening net of Polish players, but were eventually able to frag their way out to end the half, winning with an 8-7 lead. After some initial presence on short A, NiP fell back and played their pistol round passively. Forrest was able to throw a wrench in the gears of the Polish A push, and even though VP was able to plant, the Swedes played out their numbers advantage and secured the round. Having planted the bomb, the attacking side chose to wait it out, and NiP took the round straight forward. Being now 3 rounds behind with only 7 to their name, VP decides to play the first buy very passive and feel out the opponent. Eventually the Poles push A and NiP gets caught sleeping on their positions, which results in chaos on the defense that the attackers were able to abuse to make exchanges go their way. Still, it ended in a close fight, but VP was able to eke out the win. Not having built much bank, the Swedes were right into an eco round, which was easily dismantled by VP's passive approach. Still having the lead 10-9, NiP were back on a buy and their op secured them a first pick. The ensuing relatively dry toilet push from the Poles gets punished by a solid defensive hold. VP had some money left and were able to muster a decent buy. Another contact play, this time into P, gave them the success they hoped for the round prior. NiP was caught off guard by the timing, as Freiberg died for free with a nade in his hand, and the Polish side closed the round out with effective trades. This meant a bitter pill to swallow for the defenders, as the full reset left them shy of any option but to eco another time, which allowed VP to equalize the game to an 11-11 scoreline. NiP's try in the next round to stop the Poles from taking the game out of their hands was lacking, as they were playing mostly isolated positions without potential for trades. As a result, VP got the first pick in connector and proceeded to overwhelm the A side with numbers. The Swedes were reeling as their economical disadvantage meant a swift 2-round lead for the Poles. The pressure was mounting on NiP, as they invested into a double AWP setup that would immediately grant them 2 picks. The early damage meant that VP was shut out of the round and the defenders had no issue in closing out. The following round, forwards tried to take the fight to the attacking team, pushing into short B only to be greeted by 4 angry Poles. As an effect, NiP seemed convinced on a B hit, keeping 3 of the players firm on the side. VP however switched over to A, and even though by the time the bomb was planted they were down a man, since the Swedes were so out of position, the retake turned out to be impossible. With the backs to the walls, NiP decided to play not for overtime and went straight into force buy. The round developed very disjointed, with both teams making mistakes and losing unnecessary fights. In the end, it was Exist to hold down the B side successfully and give his team another chance in the game. The next round was a failed gamble on the Swedish side. Leaving Forrest alone pushed forward on short A, and keeping the rest close to B was not rewarded, as VP made short work of the sole defender on A short. The Poles rotated into a B execute, which was accompanied by good entries so that NiP had no say in the round. The situation looked dire straight, with being fully reset and only having a scout and pistols to the name, but a nutty scout shot and some pistol work made the round turn into a huge plunder for the Poles. Neil nearly came through with the clutch, but NiP prevailed. The last chance for the Polish team was used up by a contact B play that was held off well, with Freiberg racking up 3 kills and turning the round quickly into a 1 vs 2. What ensued was some bad decision making and shaky aim by NiP, but yet another time they managed to pull the round to their side, dragging themselves into overtime. NiP started the overtime with a relatively default A setup, and being flashed out of position on long, the Swedes made the fatal decision to repick into VP's waiting arms. Up in numbers, the attackers took their time and rotated to B, where Freiberg nearly turned around on its head with his attempt at a 1 vs 3 clutch, but Snacks didn't let it happen. The second round of overtime, the defending side chose to take a quick peek into short A, to then fall into a passive setup. The Poles made A the target with an execute over A long. However, Getright did a great amount of damage in and around smokes, enabling his team to complete the retake. Both teams faced each other the following round with a double AWP setup that seemingly worked for VP if Bialy had not blocked Snacks and caused his immediate death. Immediately, the Poles lost a bit of their composure and were promptly punished by the defending team. NiP switched to the T side, with the lead being back on their side after a long time. The Swedish fast B execute was well set up, however amidst the chaos VP managed to stay alive and turn it around into a 1 vs 3 afterplant that Getright came extremely close to clutching for his team, but the Poles evened the scoreline to 17-17. The Swedes were not swayed however and decided on another B take, though much slower. Their boost in Suez was rewarded with a sweet pickoff in heaven. The round however turned into a disaster, as on their B execute Neo bought enough time and space for Bialy to rack up 3 kills, leaving it in a 1 vs 1. Pasha was early on the rotation and left Freiberg no opening to take the round. With the lead back in the Poles' favor, NiP had to fight for a second overtime. A very fast exchange of AWP picks left the teams playing 4 vs 4 from early on. The Swedes waited patiently for VP's mistakes and were able to turn the round into 3 vs 2. The incredible composure and patience they showed, they suddenly lacked as they made a nervous push into P, where Taz put up a monstrous performance, single-handedly holding off the 3-man push. The match felt very even. NiP didn't suffer much from a stand-in. In fact, Disco Doppler played and fragged well. In the end, it came down to VP making fewer mistakes and being able to clutch away key rounds. Thank you for watching CS Recap.